I would like to tell you about an album that had 5 top 5 singles, all of which peaked at different positions within the top 5. Hello again, I'm Michael Douglas. Welcome to Dr. Pundit, where we talk about music, not medicine. And before we get to this edition of Dr. Pundit, I'd like to take a moment to tell you to like and subscribe to this channel, as it's good for the algo, as it's called. It gets the channel noticed. It allows me to continue to bring you great content like you're seeing right now. So let's get into it. As you know, on this channel, we've got regular recurring series or thematic shows. Well, this one is Chartistry. So this is the, I think, second edition of Chartistry on this channel. This is where I talk about chart feats that are told from the aspect of one who likes following the charts, and I certainly qualify that. I've done it for as long as, probably 43, almost 45 years, every week. And this particular aspect of chart watching is no different. It's about an album from a superstar who was put on the map by the success from this album. And it yielded 5 top 5 singles, and they all peaked at different positions within the top 5. It's the first time that ever happened on the Billboard Hot 100. And the name of the album? Janet Jackson's Control. The album that put her on the map, the album that shot her into superstardom, the album that gave her 5 top 5 smashes. Now, she's not the only person to have ever had at least 5 top 10 hits from an album, but the standard was set by her older brother Michael, who had the first album with 4 top 10 hits, Off the Wall, from 1979 to 1980. He then, of course, famously charted 7 top 10 singles from one of the most memorable albums, if not the most memorable album, in all of music history, Thriller. Well, not many people remember or recall that there have been other albums that have yielded 7 top 10 hits. Janet Jackson did it herself a few years later with her Rhythm Nation 1814 album, but Bruce Springsteen also did it a year later with his Born in the USA album. It yielded 7 top 10 hits. By the time of the mid-80s, if you were not a superstar, it was hard to do this feat. I mean, other stars did it. Madonna did it with her album True Blue. Cyndi Lauper did it with her album She's So Unusual. These come to mind. But Janet Jackson has a very special chart accomplishment because all 5 of her top 5 smashes hit different rungs when they peaked on the chart. Now, it wasn't in order. That would have been amazing. But still a great feat nonetheless. And this album actually yielded 6 top 40 hits, 6 top 10 hits on the R&B singles chart. The song that failed to make the top 10 or the top 5, of course, on the pop chart was The Pleasure Principle by Janet Jackson. That song did hit the top 10 on the R&B singles chart, as did all the other releases from that album. But interestingly, the sole number 1 that Janet had on the pop chart from Control was the track that didn't hit number 1 on the R&B singles chart. Imagine that. That track was When I Think of You. It was the 3rd release from Janet's album Control. We'll talk about that one a little later. So let's get into it. So we'll take these in chronological order. So as Janet was getting ready to release this album, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, the legendary producers, were brought on to redefine her sound. And I'm not going to talk as much about this album because this is more of a Chartistry show. So little did they know that top 5 radio tracks would hit the top 5 on the pop charts, starting with the song What Have You Done For Me Lately. It was a number 1 R&B hit in the spring of '86, hit number 4 on the pop chart. She then followed that up with a song that I think defined the album and the era. I'm talking about the number 3 hit, Nasty. Nasty had a great group of remixes. You can find them all on all streaming services. There was the standard extended remix, which is, like the name implies, it's extended with a little tweak here and there. about 6 minutes long. But she then also released the classic Cool Summer remixes. These were the songs that R&B radio really picked up on. I recall in the heat, and at the peak of the album's success that summer of '86. The one was a longer mix of almost 11 minutes. The shorter mix was around 7 minutes. The Cool Summer mixes of Nasty. But that song, I think, set the tone of the album. Janet Jackson was a force to be reckoned with. My name's not Baby, it's Janet. Miss Jackson if you're nasty. Crazy, I know. So that was the next release. And then following that was the biggest hit from the album, a #1 smash that hit squarely in the summer of 1986, When I Think of You. Now that song also made it big on a huge remix that propelled it, I think, all the way to #1 in the pop charts. And at that moment, I think everybody knew that Janet was a force to be reckoned with. We were already looking for her follow-up to this album, which would occur about 2.5 years later. So the fourth track that hit the top 5 on the pop singles chart was the title track, Control, whose video remix propelled it to the top R&B singles chart list that year and to #5 on the Billboard Hot 100. And finally, the song that hit #2 on the pop chart was a ballad. Strangely, the only ballad that was a huge hit and release from that album, a song called Let's Wait a While. So there you have it. The top 5 pop songs from the LP Control by Janet Jackson. The title cut hit #5. What Have You Done For Me Lately hit #4. Nasty hit #3. Let's Wait a While hit #2. And of course, #1, When I Think of You. Any way you slice it, a huge chart feat for Janet Jackson, who I guess you've kind of figured out I'll be talking a lot about her music on this channel. Just another example of Chartistry in action by a world famous artist. Again, I'm Michael Douglas. If you like what you're watching here on Dr. Pundit, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you again next time. But as usual, before we say goodbye, I'll just leave you in the hands of the words of the immortal Barry White. Let the music play.